Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive, fundamental shift in the AI landscape. We're totally moving past the era of basic chatbots and stepping right into the age of autonomous agentic systems. We're talking about AI that acts like a manager, orchestrating complex, multi-step tasks over hours or even days. It's a shift that creates absolutely incredible potential, but as we'll see, it also introduces some pretty terrifying, unprecedented risks. Okay. Let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, the rise of agentic AI. Second, meet Claude Fable. Third, the US government intervenes. Fourth, Showrunner AI automates TV. And finally, the autonomous future.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the rise of agentic AI.
So, to really wrap our heads around agentic AI, I want you to think of it kind of like a general contractor. Right? Like if you're building a house, you don't micromanage the contractor and tell them how to hammer every single nail. You just set the overarching goal, and then they go out and hire the plumbers, they manage the electricians, and they oversee the whole timeline. Well, agentic AI works exactly the same way, but digitally. It executes complex, multi-step workflows entirely autonomously over extended periods of time. And this brilliantly illustrates the massive leap we've just made. Standard generative AI, it basically just answers questions. It relies on single-turn outputs and has pretty short-term memory. But agentic AI, that is a whole different ballgame. It utilizes multi-step planning, it actually orchestrates external tools, and, this is key, it proactively self-corrects if it hits a roadblock.
Which brings us to Section 2, meet Claude Fable 5.
So, Anthropic structured their new Claude 5 generation into distinct tiers. At the mid-level, you've got Sonnet 5, which is your balanced, everyday model. But then we enter the Mythos-class. This tier is built entirely for ambitious agentic work. Claude Fable 5 is the public workhorse here, specifically designed for those complex, multi-step production workflows. Oh, and there is also Mythos 5, which actually removes certain safety classifiers, but that one's strictly restricted to vetted customers only. Now, what's really interesting here is that number, 1 million. That is Fable 5's token context window. But, it's not just about raw size. It's about how the model actually uses it. Fable 5 can ingest massive code bases, or literally entire TV scripts, and intelligently retrieve and apply that information deep within a workflow without ever losing the plot. So how does it actually pull this off? Well, with built-in tools. It's got a persistent memory tool for long sessions and native code execution. That means it can write, test, fail, and rewrite its own code completely autonomously. Toss in advanced division capabilities so it can read charts, and proactive self-verification, and you've got an AI utilizing what's called always-on adaptive thinking. It literally reasons through complex problems before it even acts. To summarize, Fable 5's role in the modern tech stack, it's widely being called the world's most powerful product manager agent. We are seeing this massive shift where developers are moving away from writing every line of code themselves. Instead, they're defining the goals and managing these AI directors, which then orchestrate other coding subagents to do the actual building. Moving on to Section 3, the US government intervenes. Okay, take a look at this dramatic timeline regarding the Fable 5 launch. It officially rolled out globally on June 9th, 2026. But just 3 days later, on June 12th, the US government stepped in with an export control directive. This forced Anthropic to immediately revoke access for all foreign nationals worldwide. This was a total blackout for a massive portion of their user base. It wasn't until July 1st, after some really intense negotiations and the implementation of CICC-approved safeguards, that access was finally restored. So why did Washington panic? Well, the catalyst for this unprecedented ban was a report revealing that Amazon researchers had actually found a method to bypass Fable 5's initial safeguards. They tricked the agentic system into autonomously hunting for software vulnerabilities. The fear immediately became that foreign adversaries could use this exact same long-horizon autonomous power to mount devastating cyber attacks on critical infrastructure. Because, let's face it, an AI that can write code autonomously can also hack autonomously. The geopolitical stakes here are absolutely incredibly high. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick released a statement saying, "Over the past 2 weeks, we have worked closely with Anthropic to analyze and approve Fable 5 to ensure alignment across the U.S. government and strengthen America's leadership in AI." So as a result of this intervention, researchers from the Center for AI Standards and Innovation tested and approved extraordinarily strong new safety classifiers. Plus, a mandatory 30-day data retention rule was enforced just to monitor for malicious activity.
Let's pivot and see how this builds into Section 4, Showrunner AI Automates TV. To truly understand why Hollywood is paying such close attention, we have to look at the hard economic numbers here. Traditionally, producing a single 22-minute episode of premium animation costs anywhere from $50,000 to over $500,000, and it takes 8 to 16 weeks just to produce 1 minute of footage. But now, a platform called Showrunner AI, developed by Fable Studio, is doing all of this for a fraction of the cost, generating a full 22-minute simulation in just a matter of hours. And Showrunner AI doesn't just generate some quick, clunky video clip. It uses a full multi-agent simulation pipeline. Here's how it works. Step 1, the user inputs a short text prompt. We're talking maybe 10 or 15 words. Step 2, different AI subagents take on very specific roles. One acts as the writer drafting the script, another acts as the director planning the shots. Step 3, the AI generates consistent visual assets and synchronizes cloned voices to the dialogue. And finally, Step 4, an AI editor handles the camera angles and scene transitions to assemble a final broadcast-ready cut. Behind the scenes, this system relies heavily on agentic, slow thinking, and trial and error. It literally tracks character histories and emotions to ensure continuity across 14 distinct scenes per episode. It even uses something called procedural injection of dramatic operators, or drops, to mathematically insert cliffhangers and plot reversals. This completely eliminates the need for manual animation and voice acting. I mean, they actually proved this by creating highly convincing, unauthorized South Park parodies that perfectly mimic the show's iconic humor and style. What this creates is a massive shift in the business model. Fable Studio plans to charge users between $10 to $20 a month to generate their own shows. They are literally turning the audience into the studio to create co-creative IP. If a user generates a hit episode of a new AI show, like their satire, Exit Valley, they might even get a revenue share. It entirely bypasses that traditional, closed-door Hollywood greenlight process. And that brings us to Section 5, the autonomous future. So, the crucial point here is that we are witnessing the complete decoupling of content volume from traditional human labor inputs. Across all kinds of industries, the focus is shifting away from manual execution and moving toward creative management. This totally democratizes software and entertainment production, but as we saw earlier, it heavily escalates global cybersecurity stakes, which demands the deep integration of safety classifiers. Here is the absolute core takeaway for us. Human professionals must adapt. Whether you are a programmer or an animator, the future of work is going to be all about managing, prompting, and orchestrating these AI agents, rather than doing all the manual execution yourself. I want to leave you all with this provocative thought. When AI systems like Claude, Fable 5, and Showrunner can write their own software, direct their own TV shows, and even orchestrate complex cyber defenses entirely autonomously, what exactly is the new role of the human creator? It's a fascinating, maybe slightly intimidating, but definitely exciting question to ponder as we step into this agentic future. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to keep exploring this topic.